Hey everybody, how are you? It is me, Mr. Moohead. Welcome to Moohead Radio, your source for the great nothingness that is Moohead Radio. Joining me on the panel, Tony the Gaff, Brian, and oh boy, Stephanie A. Smith. And Stephanie's, I'm sure, got some strong opinions about the deodorant she's not wearing.
Well, she'll have to use the jaws of life on this program.
Yeah, we do have things that we can talk about, and the world of sports sometimes has these situations where there are dead spots in the sports schedule. We have no football, we have no baseball, and what basketball we have. Asked Tony and I what it's like watching the Timberwolves.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, my goodness, it's like. It was just seemingly not so long ago with all of the young like Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, and that they were the up and coming thing, and it's like,
Now it's Collins.
No, actually, shouldn't it be my only friend? The end.
This is the end, my friend. Yeah. So, I wanted to start out the program today. I mean, there's so many different ways I could go, and I'm going to end up the show more on the some things that might surprise long-term Moohead Radio viewers. But I'm going to start with the tried and true. This whole Tiger Woods thing, it is a combination of privilege. I've never seen a one-car accident that's that serious before, where a guy had to be doing 60 miles an hour in a downhill road where he went across a divided road, across over onto the other side, rolled the thing, smashed up the SUV, and basically was exonerated instantly of anything without a toxicology.
Yeah, it's not like he was in, Minnesota, where you could said, oh, well, he had a patch of ice or something. I mean, he was in Southern California.
And it's a one-car accident, and he has a history, and if you remember the last time, and there's been 3 now such occurrences of odd motor vehicle stuff. The last one was Tiger fast asleep in 2017 in his car in a part way in a lane where he literally fell asleep at the wheel. And that was 5 weeks after a surgical procedure. And that was the cause of it was pain medication. If you remember the other one, George in the Jungle, Look Out for That Tree, was the Ambien Tiger Woods excuse. And now this, and I find it it's much straining credibility that this could happen without cause. They said there were 13 accidents on that road, yada, yada, yada. It was 7:15 in the morning. Tiger was in a hurry. That's basically the story. And they said that, and it came off as it's just like big time hush money being handed over to the law enforcement people. They're like, oh no, this is just a one-car crash. There's, he wasn't under the influence of alcohol. Okay, show me the toxicology. Right. It was when Tom Petty died. It's like, oh no, Tom Petty stopped using heroin in the early 90s, man. Tom Petty had just come off his, what turned out to be, and would have been anyway, his farewell tour. And then as you start reading, it's like, well, I saw the footage of his last concert. He couldn't even move on stage because his hip was so fucked up. And then, well, he was on painkillers to finish the tour. And the next thing you know, he is dead from, and it didn't even totally make the rounds at the time. But what he died from was he was taking pain medication. But the pain medication was not derived through pharmacological sources. it was gotten off the street and it had an incredible fentanyl content, which was not supposed to be the drug he was taking. And he literally OD'd on fentanyl. So the fact of the matter is, this kind of shit can happen.
Which it does not take a hell of a lot to do that.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you were taking a pill thinking it was the normal pill you usually take, and somebody spiked it with fentanyl in addition to what was, the medication, the opiate that was being taken with it, it just killed him.
And there was that Jim Nance interview on this past Sunday. I forget what tournament it was from, but they had Tiger on. I'm looking at the picture right now. He looks blazed out of his fucking mind. He looks high on something.
Yeah,
I can share screen it if you want me to.
Yeah, you feel free.
Hold on. Yeah, he looks fucking. Hold on, share.
Well, I mean, the thing is that he's just had 2 procedures, and people are just diminishing the fact that he had a 5th microdiscectomy and then another procedure, and this is, I already had a knee replacement, so I certainly know what it is. And
are you seeing the picture yet?
No, I think I have to add it to the stream, and that would Yeah, there he is.
Look, he looks fucking higher than a kite.
Yeah, and again, you're taking all kinds of there's just all kinds of problems. Post-surgically, I was off painkillers 10 days after my knee replacement. And if he's on a large amount of painkillers, I would say...
Well, he is now. Jesus. He had like 13 hours of surgery or something.
I'll tell you what, Renegade, if you want to be on the program, Renegade, write me something in the chat room that tells me that you're vastly interested in sports. That would, because we always like to have new viewers. It's just that sometimes, it doesn't exactly work out. But just to be aware that wonderful StreamYard now has total kick and ban functions. So if anybody wants to mess around, they can, mess around. And I've seen nothing coming through from somebody called Renegade. So
the thing about Tiger is,
if
a normal person gets into a wreck like that, don't you have to have some type of suspicion that that person is under the influence before you can do some type of toxicology? I mean, watch Tiger Woods have to go through all that just because he's a celebrity. Just because we saw him.
Not necessarily.
So educate me about these things, because this is what I do not know. I thought you had to have a reasonable cause to test somebody's toxicology in a case like this.
Well, I think the reason
you can have
going 60 miles an hour on a road that had a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit going downhill and went across a divided road.
They have said that they have not determined the speed. Now, do I believe all of this? Maybe. Maybe. I'm sure there's some favoritism going on, but I'm just saying, if it were me speeding down that hill, would they just go ahead and take my blood and test me to see if I was high on something?
Probably. At the hospital, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way that if he was...
for no other reason than to just rule it out.
Yeah. They ruled it out. I mean, they just flat out ruled it out.
They said it was an accident. But I'm like, you mean to tell me he didn't just hit the median and go across 2 lanes of traffic and roll that vehicle and land in a bush with the vehicle all smashed up? That wasn't on purpose. You mean that was just an accident? Oh, good then. Let's go ahead and dismiss that.
Now, it is possible if he was distracted by his phone going on, if he had his phone in the center console and it was going off and he looked down to see who was calling him, it's very possible that looking down, he smacked the curb, blew the tire, and then ended up rolling over. Now, distracted driver is still bad, but it's not grounds for, a suspicion of DUI or anything.
Well, they released the fact that, oh, no, there was nothing about this that even, and it's like, yeah, there is something, because if he's a short term after having 2 surgical procedures on his spine, I'd say there's a chance that he's on a painkiller. And if that's the case, it's something that but you don't just exonerate on the basis of who somebody is. And again, this is, it's fishy to me. I'm more interested in the man's life than I am about whether he can come back from having both of his legs amputated to golf again. Maybe he could be like Dorf on golf, and he would be able to basically golf with no legs. There seems to be more of a fascination with, I wonder if Tiger can come back from this one. And I think that at 45 years of age, this shit can't keep happening to one person for no reason.
Can we call this Campbellination privilege?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's money. It's no different than anything else. Money talks, bullshit walks, and and
it comes down to money.
Yeah, I mean, and people who have, O.J. Simpson had the best attorneys that money could buy, and a seemingly nitwit group of jurors, or a nitwit who was, prosecuting the case, and on the other side of the coin, all these hedge fund guys who get away with insider trading, and they get a slap on the wrist. They make billions of dollars, and they get fined $10 million, and they go laughing.
Politicians like Nancy Pelosi who do that, and absolutely nothing ever happens to them, except they make more money.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's money and rank has its privilege. I'm more interested that Tiger Woods makes it to 46 and 47 and 48 than I am whether he's golfing or not. And it's, and absolutely his back now, I'd hate, they haven't talked about the extent of his injuries, but I can tell you this: you have multiple compound fractures, the tibia and the femur. What this amounts to is that the bone broke through the skin and shattered into several pieces, not just like 2 distinct pieces. So he had a bone shattering, if you will. And they also said that there were problems with his right foot and ankle, but didn't go into any explanations. They didn't talk about his left leg at all, and nor his middle leg. I thought that was interesting.
Well, his testicles were shoved directly through his anus and into his small colon.
No, I do think that the fact that that area of road has seen 13 accidents since last January, that's excessive to me. They might want to look at that. But yeah, I'm sure if somebody was distracted speeding down that hill, they're not going to see whatever it is that caused those other 13 accidents to occur as well. Seems like a dangerous situation. They might want to check that out.
Yeah, and the thing is, once you've had a problem with painkillers, it's hard to convince me that when you go through procedures where you legitimately need the painkillers, that you know how to handle it. And especially a guy like Tiger, who was in a rush to get back to the Masters this year. It makes it, what shortcuts were being taken, and it really, it makes me wonder. But I think it's an unfortunate thing. The other thing that has come up today is the Russell Wilson situation in Seattle.
Speaking of testicles being shoved up there,
I don't understand this story completely. Why would somebody say, well, I'm not demanding a trade, but the only teams I'll go to are the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears? But does he have a fucking death wish? I mean, the Cowboys ruin everything that's there, and Dak Prescott is still their quarterback technically, and I don't understand. Dak Prescott was beaten into submission because of the lack of an offensive line in Dallas. Why in the
and no defense?
Yeah, I mean, and why in the hell would Russell Wilson, who complains about getting hit too much in Seattle, find it any different in Dallas? Now, New Orleans, at least, we know that their quarterback, Breeze, is done, and they don't have much behind him. So that might make sense. The Raiders have proven nothing whatsoever, consistently inconsistent. And the Bears would be the worst place you could go. I mean, the absolute worst place. Yes, they have a good defense, but they have no offensive line there. So, I at least understand the notion of somebody like J.J. Watt, who's, and they're talking the $15-16 million a year kind of range. And he's named off some teams. And the teams, I mean, whether it's Pittsburgh because of his brothers being there, that at least has some, there's some reason for that. And then a bunch of other teams that he's mentioned, including the Browns, that make total sense. I mean, if he turns around and goes to the Panthers, then I think it's safe to say it was all about money. And we find that out one way or another. In the end, we find that out. But what's the deal with Russell Wilson? What does he want? And he's 32 years old, complaining about how many hits he's taken. That's all part of the game. That's, you've been to 2 Super Bowls, you won one of them. Sometimes the carousel slows down and the ride comes to an end. And at 32 years old, he sees, well, I'm not going to have another shot at the Super Bowl, never mind the fact that he's already had 2. And he wants to go someplace else. And it sounds disingenuous. I'm not asking for a trade, but here are the 4 teams that I would go to. What sense do you make of this, guys?
Well, it's uncharacteristic for him to express those kinds of grievances. So they've said that he was really frustrated after this season. I mean, does that constitute this level of frustration where he would uncharacteristically express the want, the desire, and name specific teams the way that he's done? I mean, was it that
bad? Yeah, I don't know, Stephanie. I don't know what and the same thing holds true now. In Houston, I don't. He's named teams, and the teams that he's naming are like the Panthers. Who was it?
Teddy Bridgewater went there.
Yeah. But there were the Texans are kind of like, we don't want to get rid of you. And he's like, well, and his agent's naming teams that are horrible teams. I mean, is this, he signed an extension and a big one at that last year.
Well, and what neither he nor his agent are understanding is, in order to pull off a trade with Carolina or whoever, you're going to gut the team for the next 2 to 3 years for the draft pick compensation to get him to that team. So what are you actually accomplishing? You're going from the frying pan straight into the fucking fire.
Yeah, and and I understand that organization, just like the Washington organization, when organizations like the Browns did, go to hell, it can last a while. I can understand that he signed a deal last year when they waved the money in front of him. But what did he think he was getting into? I haven't seen anything out of the Texans recently that would lead me to believe that they were on an upward trajectory. Yet he took the payday, and now he says, "Well, I'm willing to, to waive my no trade clause." And I don't get it. The teams he wants to go to. He's intrigued by the 49ers and Broncos. If anyone can fuck up a quarterback situation, it's the Broncos. Okay. He would also be interested in the Dolphins or the Jets. Now, the Jets.
Now, the Dolphins do have the draft capital to trade for a major player.
Yes.
Either Watson or Russell Wilson.
And if we believe the actions of the team, they don't believe in Tua. I mean, based upon the fact that every time the going got slightly rough, they would throw Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game. I mean, this makes sense to me. The Jets, I can't believe it. Why would you want to go to the Jets unless you just want to be Kyrie Irving and land in New York? I mean,
well, actually, the trade that actually kind of encapsulates the whole thing is the Carmelo Anthony trade, where he could have been a free agent at the end of the season instead of forcing a trade, and then the Knicks gave up so much draft capital that it fucked them. They were stuck with a limited roster and long-term dead weight contracts. So what did they end up winning? Like 70 games over 4 years or something?
Yeah. Yeah. And, the J.J. Watt situation, I mean, there's been no further speculation about where he's going to wind up, although it's going to require him to find a team willing to pay him that kind of money. And it's got to be somebody, I would think, who is competitive and who feels they're one or two good big players away from really making that over the top kind of thing. And we look at our team as one of them. We look at the Ravens as one of them. We look at the Bills definitely as one of them. There are teams that either are going to fade back into the background, or they're going to make their move. And we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. $15 to $16 million. He's not going to miss very much from last year's pay. $17 million.
But by the same token, that's the exact, well, at least the ballpark of Olivier Vernon.
Yeah.
So who would you rather pay? I think I would rather have, in that sense, I would rather have Watt, because at least you're going to get a better run-stuffing defensive player in a division where they do nothing but run the fucking football, except for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, the teams for J.J. Watt, Green Bay, which makes some sense, makes a lot of sense, actually. Although they're one injury away from death with the quarterback situation there. Pittsburgh, we already talked about. Tennessee, and honestly, the great limitation of Tennessee is Rabel offensively. Defensively, he's supposed to be a killer, but the Browns scored 41 points against him. I don't know how, Tennessee's slightly better than 500 team. This has been the case, but getting over that hurdle has been very difficult. And the Raiders are also in the mix for J.J. Watt, but I don't see the Raiders. They kicked our ass, but when you saw them,
did they though?
Yeah, they did. they physically bowled us around the field. Yes, they did.
Well, offensively, but I don't think that
Yeah,
I don't think that their defense was anything overly special.
No, but I mean, they cleaned our clock. They took it to us. But what I look at is 16 games. I don't look at one game. And they had that great game against the Browns, and the Browns really played a poor game against them. But you look at what happened in the following weeks, and it's like they took their foot off the gas. And they started losing to inferior teams, and the Browns went the opposite direction and started playing good football. So I have yet to see the Raiders really piece together what I would consider to be back-to-back really good games. And I don't think that a pass rusher is the issue there. I think that there's a lot more, and I think that Gruden as a coach has limitations. That's what I think. And a lot of those limitations are that he was, he was a lot better when they put him in the hot tub time machine. In contemporary football, it's a different game, and I'm not sure that he's up to the challenge of a playoff run out of Las Vegas. So, we'll see what happens with J.J. Watt, but he's going to be wealthy no matter what. Here's a topic I think is really going to be of interest. It's of interest to me, and I was I think I would believe Stephanie A. Smith is going to have a very, very important opinion and strong opinion on this. Kyrie Irving, and not that we want to hear from Kyrie Irving because it's just he's a pain in the ass, but he's wanting to push the discussion for Kobe Bryant being the new NBA logo. For those of you who are young and you don't realize, the current NBA logo has been utilized since 1969, and it portrays a silhouette of then player Jerry West, who was white, bright, and polite, who played at West Virginia in college, I do believe. And a big scorer, but not the face of the 60s when Bill Russell won, 11 championships. And part of me wonders if the NBA wants to change logos now because, having a logo of a silhouette of a white man, which you wouldn't know by looking at the logo. And a lot of young people who are listening to this program may not realize that that's the identity of the NBA logo. We'll start with Stephanie A. Smith. Kobe Bryant is an NBA logo.
Well, let me just say this. I had no idea that NBA logo was based on a real person. First of all, I didn't know who that was. I don't really understand the need to change that at the moment. But I mean, if Kyrie Irving wants to start the discussion, I'm more than willing to to have the discussion with him. But I say, why not just leave it the way it is? I mean, it's not really culture specific. I mean, I don't know what he means by push our culture forward. Is he talking about the culture of basketball players? If that's the case, then that's fine. Is he talking about some other kind of culture? Because that's not clear when you look at the logo. So I don't know. I say leave it the way it is.
All right, Brian.
I actually agree with Stephanie on this one.
Oh my God,
leave it alone.
The hell has frozen over. The lake of fire has snow. Oh my God.
Well, at least the state of Texas. How about that? And as far as Kyrie Irving is concerned, just don't go on a fishing trip with him. You might fall off the edge of the earth. Be flat earth.
So Tony, I heard you groan. What's the deal?
I'm in agreement with Stephanie A. Smith, aka Roxanne, and Brian. It's nonsense. It's stupid. If you want to change the logo, go ahead. But Kobe Bryant, I mean, are you really going to have a guy who's was accused of raping a woman as the face of your league? No. If there's anybody you're going to change it to, it's LeBron James or Michael Jordan. But to change it is stupid. The logo does nothing. It doesn't symbolize that, yes, Jerry West was a better player because he's white. There's no racial fucking backgrounds behind the logo. This is just cancel culture bullshit, and I'm fucking tired of it.
Well, 1969, let's be honest about it. That's when the logo started. The 1960s were not exactly the era of big time integration. Bill Russell started in the late 50s, but you looked at the percentage of white players and black players, very different today than it was then. The thing I don't understand about this is why Kobe Bryant. And again, I'm not going to end up going.
Because he died. That's the only reason.
You're right. I mean, I'm not going to go Colin Coward on a guy, especially a dead guy. But let's and hi, Glacial Musher. How you doing? I'm just saying hi to one of the Twitch viewers of Moohead Radio. Why him? I mean, his history is tarnished by some of the worst attitude that a player's ever had. If there was ever a me first and me only player, it would be Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was shoot first, talk later, shoot first, pass later. I'm better than Shaq. I can't think of a single team moment, including I'm too fucking old to play, but I'm still going to hold you to my 30 some odd $1 million a year contract, even if it drags the Lakers dynasty right down into the fucking toilet because we won't be able to afford any decent players. We will put the worst product on the floor and, of course, do bust at the same time. And then we're going to lose virtually every game we play. And then for my final game, Kobe says, the rules are nobody gets to guard me and I get to take 2/3 of my team's shots so that I'll score 50 or 60 or whatever points it was so I can go out on a high note. I mean, people forget this stuff. I'm sorry that he died, you know? I'm sorry that the plane wreck happened. I'm sorry about that. But him? I mean, if you wanted to, my belief is if you've left it the way it is since 1969, nobody's been paying attention to the biatch anyway, right? I mean, nobody cares about that logo. It doesn't mean anything. But what I can say is if you're going to make changes to it, make changes every 10 years to it. Because you know something? It would have been, the 70s would have been Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the logo would have been a sky hook. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and realistically, if you want to change it to a black player, just to be culturally appropriate, I guess is the new thing these days. I can think of 15 to 20 black NBA players who would be far better candidates than Kobe Bryant. I mean, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Will Chamberlain, name it.
Those three you cannot deny. Kareem's the leading scorer in NBA history, and people have, it's like a written that Michael Jordan has this mystique about him, and then there's LeBron James, but LeBron's still playing, okay. So, and Jordan, I don't think that the NBA maybe wants to tie into Jordan Brand at this point because.
What about a David Robinson?
No, Tim Duncan. I mean,
yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways you can go. Based
if you
on,
want squeaky clean, you definitely, I would say David Robinson because Tim Duncan had a lot of, he pulled a lot of crap.
You don't want Karl Malone, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No.
The thing that amazes me is the league is so marquee driven that they would remain staid and conservative, keeping a logo for 50 plus years. And when this is a complete marquee league, I mean, I'm going to say something here that, I've been watching the Cavaliers play, and I watched them pull a game out against the Atlanta Hawks. And the Atlanta Hawks have 2 more wins, 14 wins to the Cavaliers, 12 wins, right? And neither team is very good. But they have Trae Young. And you're saying, so what? Trae fucking Young. And Trae fucking Young gets every call. They gave him the ball every time down the stretch. They managed to lose the game. He missed a runner. All he does is he runs in front of people, and if it's perceived that a molecule touches him, they call a foul, especially against teams like the Cavaliers, who aren't very good. So there's a pecking order. There's Trae Young and the Hawks bad, and then there's the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of bad, and now a whole new chapter in bad being written by the Houston Rockets, who have lost now 9 or 10 in a row, and unfortunately the Timberwolves at 7-21, who make bad teams look better. So if the Cavaliers came in against the Timberwolves, it would be like, well, we're going to wait until Kevin Love comes back, and we're going to send Kevin to the free throw line 20 times in the game just to remind the Wolves that they're below the Cavaliers on the pecking order. Right. They're so marquee oriented. You would think that why don't you just go ahead and just do what you're going to do, which is it ain't Pelican time yet, folks. And who is our former GM at the Cavaliers guy who now is the GM over with the Pelicans?
Chris Grant?
No. Who is the guy? Oh, he was such a self-serving big mouth. Help me out in the chat room. I forget his name is. He's the current GM. If you want to look it up of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh, Trajan Langdon.
Trajan Langdon.
Yeah.
What?
Trajan Langdon's the GM of the Pelicans right now.
You're kidding.
No.
What happened to the former Cavalier guy?
Oh, David, you're thinking of David Griffin. He is.
Yes.
David Griffin is the executive vice president of basketball operations.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
They're 14 and 18. All right. Zion or no Zion, they're 14 and 18, and nobody gives a fuck about basketball in New Orleans. You get laid in New Orleans. You have bourbon pecan pie in New Orleans.
You throw beads to see boobs in New Orleans.
That's exactly what New York, but it ain't going to see basketball. No matter, all we're doing is we're prepping Zion to end up going out west when LeBron's done. That's all we're doing in the NBA, right? We're going to just herd him right over to the West Coast. The league is completely marquee driven, and a lousy team like the Pelicans will still get national television because Zion will draw an audience. So who are the players today? Giannis, who hasn't won a goddamn thing and still doesn't know how to shoot a three-point shot, but is a freak as far as his physical skill set and his height. You've got, Trae Young, who is the poor man's Steph Curry, except he doesn't win, even against the Cavaliers when he's given every call. You've got Luka Doncic, which is fine, but the Mavericks are not going anywhere. So that
he's the token white guy, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, he's like the salute to the European leagues.
Yeah.
Not Jetty Osmond, if you were keeping track.
Devin Booker, I mean.
You're right. Kevin Booker, I can throw the ball in from anywhere. That's right. And who's the other guy that we just faced, the Cavaliers just faced, who could throw in,
Jamal Murray?
That's one, yeah. Jamal Murray scores just for 50. Yeah, there are guys who have that capability to put up a lot of points. And then, of course, you have LeBron, AD, and you've got, the usual suspects, right?
Right.
And so why not? If you see a player is the shift of the dynasty, because let's be honest, the league knows, the league marketing is quite aware of who the strong teams are and who the weak sisters are, that during LeBron's run, it should have been LeBron. During Michael's run, it should have been Michael. During the Spurs run, it should have been Duncan. All right. I mean, and this is how obvious all of this is. During the Warriors, it would have been Steph Curry. This is so obvious because it's not like there are that many teams that have been dominant over a number of years. For the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
So why not do that and just play into the whole marketing thing? I don't get it. Why do I have to look at this?
Because jambalaya is delicious. That's why. I wish I still had some left over right now.
How do you know what it tastes like?
I've been to New Orleans several times.
And look at Rick. Rick's got it nailed. He's got you nailed, Stephanie. Louisiana hot sauce. That's what Stephanie likes. She likes the hot sauce. And look at her.
I do like it hot. I do like it hot.
And what?
Hot and spicy.
She's not responding.
Oh boy.
All right. So I'd like to see just a rotating kind of NBA logo that would just be consistent with what the league's promoting.
Why not just make it the fucking ball? Forget the players. Just make it the fucking ball.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. But somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. It's like when they name all-stars and people who get bypassed. People's going to get their feelings hurt.
Speaking of Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, again, he's just not on a good enough team, I guess. You know, not enough of the country has seen them because they're not televised very much. You know, if you like a scoring guy, he's a matador defensively, but so is Colin Sexton. So what? I mean, yeah, matador's a matador. Next. I do have to give one good plug for the Cavaliers. Did you see the dunk by Jared Allen, Tony?
I did. That was
Whoa.
fantastic.
And that's something. I mean, and it was so funny that he was joking afterwards because they compared it to one of the dunks that Dr. J did. And invariably, the image of this big afro going down the court and jamming it into the basket conjured images. And Jared Allen said, well, you know, we do have some things in common. Our first names begin with J, and we both have an afro. But Jared Allen has been a real pleasant surprise with the Cavaliers. I mean, it's not that people didn't know he could play, but this is, I guess, the biggest problem in my mind with the NBA, with the whole concept of the big three. He was playing with a Brooklyn Nets team where it was like, you hold up your arms, you change shots, you're the thing that we kind of call defense. We'll get the ball down low to you, but you best pass it out to Harden, or else he is going to be really upset with you. Just expect when the ball hits Kyrie's hands, you'll never see it again. Or, you know, if it hits Durant's hands, you're never going to see it again. Jared Allen is a guy. See a key. What's she getting out so early for?
I think she has to study and do something else with the family. So,
well, if it's family related, can't blame her for that. That family first. But I don't know. I'm thrilled that they gave up Jared Allen because he does so many things. I mean, and
Tristan, who?
Yeah, no, right. But no, this is Tristan Thompson with a 7'5" wingspan. This is a guy who's willing to do dirty work, and at the same time is not without offensive skill set. I thought when we got him, it's like, okay, I've seen him play. He's a lob and dunk guy, right? He's the pick and roll guy.
Right.
Who just dumps the dunk in and that's it. But no, he's got footwork down low. And he can get the short shot up. He's starting to shoot threes and making them. His release is not bad. This is not like Dwight Howard kind of guy. This is not a guy who's Shaq daddy, who's, just got, throws up bricks unless he's dunking the ball. And he alters so many shots. His presence is palpable. And we were talking about Andre Drummond, 27 and in his prime. This guy's putting up numbers at 22 years of age and playing way harder than Andre Drummond and hasn't even scratched the surface, if he stays healthy, of what he could be.
Right. I saw that.
You know what I see in a guy like this? I see the young Akeem Olajuwon. I see a guy, he hasn't even had a chance. He's a 4-year player out of Texas. He had 1 year where he's starting with the Nets and had a role that he was subservient to 3 players, and he never got a chance to show what he could do. Now he's playing with a team that wanted to get rid of Andre Drummond, thankfully, and fits in. And you know what's amazing about it? What's amazing about the whole Jared Allen story isn't just that he, starting to put up 20 plus points and he's, had 6 double-doubles in a row. What's amazing is look at how much better Dylan Windler suddenly looks with Jared Allen in the middle. Because they're starting to double and triple Jared Allen. He's shooting 67.5% from the floor.
Well, I saw that Dylan Windler's just draining threes.
Well, because he has open looks now. Look, Windler will find a spot on the floor, but he's not going to beat you off the dribble. Dylan Windler is not a guy who's coming out of Belmont to make his own. He's a guy who, like I was saying before, you either got to have a drive and kick guy, or you got to have a big man who's willing to pass out of the pivot. And Jared Allen is willing to do that. And now suddenly what looked totally broken, you guys made 9 threes in a row now. And you're getting an idea that the guy can shoot threes. But that's how a player makes other players better. And Cavaliers in their last game had 16 threes. They never came close to sinking 16 threes. But part of the reason is inside out, not inside force the ball up. It's get the ball down low and then work it back out. And when you make 16 3-point shots, and even if you're doing it against Houston, it's fucking lost, okay? They're a lost organization. Still, you got to make those shots. And the Cavaliers haven't been able to do that. So putting in a good word for the Cavaliers, because that's at least made it somewhat palatable to watch, seeing a young guy develop. And he's got to develop getting a shot off. Right now, he's either a face-up 15-foot guy, I'll give it a whirl, or a 3-point, 23-foot, 9-inch thrust from outside and face up, or I'm backing down and trying to dunk or trying to hit the little baby hook. That's what he is right now. He needs to get a shot that he has a spot on the floor, because nobody's going to block a fadeaway shot from that guy. You got too much wingspan.
Like I said to you on Twitter, it's a good, nice little rebound from that meat grinder of a fucking West Coast swing they had, where they were playing the Lakers and the fucking Clippers and the.
But I mean, they could have done better than what they did. They really looked like they were giving up, and it's not what you want to see from a young basketball team. But there is such a have and have not kind of thing going on in the NBA that it is very, very difficult to watch lower tier teams having to play the few upper tier teams, because they have weapons. You know, they come at you with multiple players, and we're undersized at the guard position, you know,
right?
Undersized. So nothing's going to change that. We give up far too many 3-point shots, far too much dribble penetration. And that hurts. So,
well,
I wanted to say something good about the Cavaliers. Oh, no, and while we're at it, let's say nothing good about the Cleveland Indians. If you're wondering what's going on Saturday, a 3-inning intra-squad game featuring the Logan Allen on the mound, Cal Quantrill, Anthony Gose, and Kyle Nelson. You've probably only heard of, well, maybe 2 of them. Quantrill pitched a little last year. Logan Allen, I hope I never see again. And the pitchers scheduled to throw live batting practice include Zach Plesac, Blake Parker, Trevor Stephan, Oliver Perez, yes, he's still around, Emmanuel Clace, who we might finally see if he's not still taking performance-enhancing drugs, Carlos Vargas, who sounds more like a boxer than a pitcher, Nick Whitgren, who's back again, and DJ Johnson, and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, who cares about the Cleveland Indians? Let's be honest and move on. Just awful.
Well, I would like to say that I'm trying to arrange tickets to see them one last time for spring training, because after this year, there will be no baseball in Cleveland. I don't give a fuck what they call the team. To me, it's a giant sinkhole where Jacobs Field used to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the best that Cleveland.com can do. They're writing about Bradley Zimmer. You know, it's like you walk into a house and it's decorated like it was in the 80s, you know?
Right.
Bradley Zimmer is old news. He's 27 years old. He's gone from being the promising young player to being a guy who can't stay healthy, can't put his bat on the ball. He's neither fish nor fowl. He's not a power hitter. He's not a contact hitter. He strikes out an inordinate number of times, and he gets hurt all the time. why are you dedicating an article to Bradley Zimmer? He's one of 10, count them, 10 outfielders. And you know that Rosario, the new guy, is going to be playing, right? So you know that he's going to be out in left field, I do believe. So it's 9 guys fighting for 2 to 3 positions, depending on if you're platooning. And Bradley Zimmer, who I'm sorry, is 28 now. Fuck him. It's coming, it's gone. You remember Clint Frazier?
Yep.
That was our minor league. Clint Frazier and Bradley Zimmer. What happened to Clint Frazier?
I think he's with the Yankees now.
Well, he was. He went to the Yankees, and he had some promise, but it's never. I'm going to look him up. It never really amounted to what people.
He's still with the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he had 131 at bats in the shortened season, and he had 8 home runs with a 267 average. He's a part-time player.
Yeah.
And it's you look at by year what he's accomplished, and he's never had more than 246 plate appearances. When he did, he hit 12 home runs for the Yankees, and he batted at 267. He's a defensive liability, and he strikes out an inordinate number of times, 70 times in 225 at bats. That's 1 out of every 3 times. That's not good enough. That's Russell Branyan-esque.
Yep.
So that was the Indians' big time, that was our minor league power that never amounted to a damn thing. Which leads me now to what I wanted to say in the beginning of the program. Partly it's already been said. You all sick enough yet of the political conversations? You sick of it yet?
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to get something off my chest what I'm really sick of. And if you didn't see the unfortunate story, the ex-USA gymnastics coach, John Geddert, killed himself because, they had him dead to rights, 24 counts. We're talking about verbal, sexual, every kind of abuse of female gymnasts, despicable. And
so it always happens like that. Look at Jeffrey Epstein, magically died.
Yeah, and this guy killed himself, and he didn't want to face what was surely lay ahead of him. 63 years of age, done. He
would have died anyways. Although, what state was he being tried in?
Michigan, I think.
Oh yeah, no, he would have spent a life in jail.
Yeah, I mean, so he's 63 anyway. So I mean, it looked like he was going to get out. But here's the thing that killed me. Yeah, we know what killed him. He did. What killed me is that after it happened, there were gymnasts who were unfortunately abused by John Geddert, who were complaining that his killing himself denied justice.
I mean, what fucking more do you want? Justice is he's either dead or he rots in a jail cell on the taxpayer dime for the rest of his life.
What they wanted was the gavel coming down and a guilty verdict being levied against him, and the judge saying, "You are a fucktard."
But you know something?
Oh, cool.
Enjoy your life sentence. And
you never know what's going to happen in a trial. You never know what's going to happen in a trial. The fact of the matter is, if he goes to trial, I guarantee you, the parents of every one of those girls.
They tried the doctor in the same state. He was in Michigan too.
Yeah, I mean, the parents who sent their kids to this guy and found out, believe me, they wanted him dead. I mean, if I were a parent and somebody did that to my daughter, I'd want him dead. Okay?
Somebody attacks him, and then all of a sudden the case gets thrown out, and
You got a hung jury, you got this, you got that. You don't know. And plus, you've got to relive the whole experience over and over and over again because you're going to be called as a witness and you're going to be up there. And then if something goes bluey in the trial and it doesn't go the way you think it should go, then you're embittered that he didn't get enough time in prison. And then you're saying justice then wasn't served. Well, look. Death is the final arbiter, folks. And if you're in this for anger and retribution and not justice, fuck you. I mean, I don't know what they wanted. The guy's dead. And you know something? I'm glad he's dead. I absolutely applaud. That's the only good thing that came out of this is that he killed himself.
Yep.
So I'm reading something from Sarah Klein, who's saying that she was abused by this individual, and she says that she felt gutted by the news that he had committed suicide because she feels like she has no closure now, and she feels like that was his final act of narcissistic control, was taking his own life. I guess she wanted him to be in the situation that she was in, where she felt like she was not in control. She wanted him to know what it felt like to not be in control of his own destiny.
She wanted Bubba to be ass raping him in the shower every fucking day.
So you want
Sure, that's probably.
This is the
You got a pretty mouth.
Closure. You know where closure comes from? What was that woman's name who was abused?
I'm going to need more info than that.
No,
Sarah Klein.
Sarah Klein?
Oh, Sarah Klein.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a horrible thing that happened. There is no closure. The only closure that there is that a sick, perverted, twisted, violent person entered your life and did and committed despicable crimes against you.
Yeah, if somebody did that to me, them going to jail doesn't take away the fact that they did it to me.
Well, the only closure there is what you come to inside your soul based on therapy, based on the things to try to get you to at least get past that horrible thing so that you can keep on living your life. John Geddard isn't going to live the rest of his life. He did get justice because by committing suicide, that's not a narcissistic, that's horseshit. What it is an acknowledgement of guilt, and he didn't want to have some hairy guy pounded him from behind in prison. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is the way I look at it too, Rick. I say the corpse is closure. All right? I'd say that. But I'm not done yet because there's more to these stories that bother me. I mean, if you want justice, that's fine. If you want retribution, but don't let them go hand in hand because the two don't always go hand in hand. The Atlanta Dream, the WNBA team, sold. And the reason it sold is because Loeffler, the woman who lost the runoff in Georgia, who obviously may not be the favorite in the women's movement, was basically forced to sell the team. Now, I can tell you this. We saw what happened in San Diego with the old Clippers, right? We saw, I forget the owner's name now.
No, David Stern was the fucking commissioner of the league.
Yeah. I can't remember the Sterling.
Donald Sterling. Yep.
Yeah.
My
God,
Steve Bannon.
Pretty disgusting guy, but he held on for a long time.
Steve Ballmer, not Steve Bannon. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Steve Bannon. That's another story. So, you're always going to find people who have opinions or commit, insensitive behavior. But
Andrew Cuomo, excuse me.
Yeah, Kelly Loeffler was forced to sell this team, and I don't feel good about that. And I don't feel good about her. Let me make sure that you understand that I think that she's a danger to society. Just like I think that Marjorie Greene, whatever the fuck her name is
Taylor. Yeah.
Yep. But there's another thing that bothers the hell out of me. I don't think you can force a person to sell a business just because you disagree with their political beliefs.
Right.
Next, I'm going to tell you that I actually agree with something that a Proud Boy said. And boy, you never thought you'd hear that from me. The leader of the far-right Proud Boys group does not care that lawmakers were terrorized by rioters inside the U.S. Capitol as they tried to do their jobs. Here's his quote. Enrique Tarrio is his name. I'm not going to cry about people who don't give a crap about their constituents. I'm not going to sympathize with them. And we do have common ground, Enrique, except for the fact that you're a militant racist, and I wish that you were planted 6 feet under. But the same thing holds true for the people in Congress. You know something?
Wait, I thought black and brown people couldn't be racist.
Oh,
Isn't that the standard issue? Liberal,
progressive
bullshit.
No, you can be.
Not all liberals believe that shit.
Not at all. And the fact, at least not real ones, I don't know what the ones that are parading themselves around now believe, but it's crazy to me that, you know, the notion that they were hiding in their offices and maybe it entered their mind just for a split second or two that there was a crowd bearing down on them and that they might die. And I'm like, beautiful. For as much as you've taken from the American way of life, as much as you've taken from our system and turned it into just rot, absolute rot. You know, I don't think that those people should die. They should be supplanted. They should be removed. And I don't want a bunch of skinheads going in and taking care of business that way. What I want to see is those people just escorted and sent out. But you see, the problem is, as long as we keep getting people who are part of that system elected into the presidency and we keep recirculating the same thing, those people will never get thrown out anywhere. They'll just ascend. But I don't want to be labeled here. You know, I am a centrist Democrat, if there is such a thing anymore. And the fact is, I think it's healthy if congressional people fear for their lives because they're fucking the American public over. There's that. And then there's this final thing, which just pushes me to the limit. And I'm going to do a CNN story. And Brian, you don't have to say nothing. Okay? This is what you call real shit journalism. Headline: Marjorie Taylor Greene posts anti-transgender sign across the hall from lawmaker with a transgender child. That is the headline. You want to know what the real story is?
Do tell.
Illinois Representative Marie Newman, whose daughter is transgendered, posted a video first on Twitter of her hanging the pink and blue transgender pride flag outside of her office in the nation's capital on Wednesday afternoon. Now, I just want to say this. If your daughter is transgendered, all right, there ain't no fucking flag for that. That's a decision that somebody made. And I don't want to hear this thing, oh, you're born gay and this. Okay, you're born gay. You choose to wear women's clothing. There is nothing genetic component-wise that says, oh, I understand. Some men are born gay. I believe that because there were kids I grew up with, and you just knew. There was like at 6, 7 years old, post-puberty or pre-puberty, you're not supposed to know things like that, but you know.
Yeah, the kids that grew up playing with Barbie dolls, yeah, you can clearly tell that.
Yeah, I mean, nature does get
Either that or they grow up to be gynecologists.
You know.
Nothing at all wrong with a boy playing with dolls.
Well, I mean, that's what G.I. Joe was.
Boy, that struck too close to one.
G.I. Joe. What
Oh, my God.
But the thing that kills me here is I will do an impression of the representative from Illinois putting up the flag. She puts up the gay or the transgender flag. I don't even know. I mean, it could have been the Lithuanian flag for all I know. And I don't want that in the hall of the nation's capital. You know, it's like, and no, I don't want religious imagery all over the place either. And I don't want that shit in the hall. I'm consistent, okay? when she puts up the flag, she purposely videos herself, and she's right across the hall from where her old Marjorie is. And when she puts the flag up, she goes like this. Now, it's just instigation. I mean, do you really honestly think that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the most easily triggered person in the House of Representatives, is going to see that video and not respond to it? So, of course, what does she do?
She took the bait.
She puts a sign up outside her office that says there are only two genders, and she says,
believe the science or something like
that. Right, or something like that.
Trust the science.
Trust the science. Okay, that is correct. All right. And you know something? And when she was done doing it in her video, she went, so we have a country whose infrastructure is failing, that doesn't know how to turn on the power grid for God knows how long in Texas, that can't distribute a goddamn vaccine, a system that can't figure out whether you're going to have one dose or two doses, trying to rush the Johnson & Johnson product out on the market because it's only one dose, even though we don't have a comparison of how effective these things really are, and people waiting too long to get their second dose, so much so that for a while they were saying, well, maybe we should only give one dose to people. A system where wealthy, super ultra wealthy people are skimming off the top and ripping off the system, ripping off people by paying off idiots like these people. And you know what they're doing when the country's going down the crapper? They're playing catty little games.
I'm getting paid to do it.
Get out of show the bitch. Well, you're both bitches, and you should both be the fuck out of office.
Yeah.
Don't need that.
As I told you on Facebook, if they brought back dueling, problem solved. Let them kill each other.
God, I mean,
we can that way we can eliminate the slump and constantly have fresh blood. Literally.
Yeah, the turbulence
coming out
you're
of it.
seeing like in this COVID relief bill, there's like millions of dollars for a bridge to Canada and millions of dollars for light rail systems in California.
Well, it's not just that; it's the fucking gender study. We're paying $1 billion for gender studies in Pakistan. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
But the American citizen who's been struggling for 12 months now is only worth $1,400.
Yeah, it's right. And, you want to talk about tone deaf. This is all about winning a little personal argument, and these people are not fit for office. And there's not just them. There's more of them. There are people who are just so far out on either extreme that there is no reason for these people to even be involved in our government. There's just no reason. And this is why the country's going down the shitter. And, as far as genders are concerned, look, I'm 63 years old. I really don't care how somebody identifies themselves. I really don't.
No.
And it's not a special thing to me. It's not the basis of which we create flags, emblems, logos. It is a personal choice from how a person wants to be differentiated from being either gay or being transgendered or being a cross-dresser or whatever, but don't try to sell this shit to me that I have to sit here and say, I'm going to watch a fight between people about something this silly. It's like if a transgendered person walks into a store and buys a product, it's no different than anybody else. How they choose to identify is their damn business. But you know something? It's not something to be advertised, Bruce Jenner formerly. It's not something to be exploited. It's not something the basis of which you have a reality television show. It isn't that. Talk to Dr. Renee Richards. Talk to her. David Raskine did a previous life. She goes on being a great doctor in New York City. But you don't hear about anything about Renee Richards being transgendered because Renee Richards is Renee Richards now, was David Raskine before. Or Richard Raskine, I'm sorry. That's it. That's all there is to the story. That's all there is.
Right.
And I don't see, like, oh, it's a new gender. Oh, I don't understand that. It's like, go your way, identify yourself, and move on. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jew. I mean, fuck. There's no parade. It's the annual Macy's Jew Parade.
Yeah.
Live from Manhattan. I mean, this is not what this is. It's what it's become. Hey, little TYG, just in under the wire. I'm going to give him a shout out. There he is. There he is. Probably getting home from work saying, hey, that guy's still on the air, man. He must have had something to say. Well,
all I want to know is if there is a flag for transgender persons, and if a person is actually depicted on the flag, 50 years from now, are they going to be talking about changing out that person?
Yeah, right. Well, I could go completely politically incorrect, okay? Which I'm going to do, which I still do once in a while, because...
Victory is mine!
Are you ready for my song?
Let's go.
You're a grand old fag. You're a
high-flying fag.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
George M. Cohan,
I don't know why I'm ever surprised at how low you will go.
For fuck's sake. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Not that the bar was set very high to begin with.
I just don't think that these are things to celebrate. I think these are choices that people make, and their choices should be respected. But it becomes harder to respect it when it becomes a commercialized venture and you get reality TV series with these people. I mean, it's kind of difficult when you have RuPaul's Drag Races on TV to be, like viewed in a respectable light. I mean, it's like, that's not it. Like if I wanted to make a case for little people, I wouldn't be the guy who was being tossed down the bowling alley. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't have both ways. We want to be taken seriously.
Or shot out of a cannon.
Yeah. Do serious things if you want to be taken seriously. But, making up some kind of an emblem and a logo and putting it on a flag and then putting it in the nation's capital just proves some kind of a silly point that you can piss off the woman across the hall. That's not getting it. And, if you're proud of your daughter because she's 20 years old and made the decision to be transgendered, God bless you if you're a proud mother. But a proud mother doesn't politicize that.
Right.
This puts that child right in the middle of something that they didn't ask to be put in the middle of. It's ridiculous.
Right.
At any rate, we're done because it's 7:15 and we got to eat our food and I got to feed the dog who's snouting me from below. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back again. Yes, Stephanie. We will be back again come Monday with Jimmy Buffett, and we'll be talking more about whatever's happening in the world of sports. Until then,
thanks for stopping by, Keith.
Good night.